podcast, guys. So there's plenty of listening time for you there. So we're going to be talking a little bit about community, and I really do hope that this is more than anything a really good reminder for you. All right, well, let's kick off the podcast, guys. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you've come to without the stupid diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of community and why you shouldn't be doing this alone. This transformation thing, why you shouldn't be doing it alone. We've just come off the back of our 4th client retreat. This one here was a ladies only retreat. It was attended by around 30 ladies. And for the first time, we had all 6 of our head coaches under the one roof. So that in itself was a pretty cool thing. All of our retreats have been very, very, very different. I think with this one particularly, there was a mix of nervousness and excitement. And in a retreat, you naturally want to let it find its own rhythm, right? You don't want to force it. And some people are super socially awkward, right? And that's completely natural. Some people are extremely, extrovert, Janine. And with a predominantly online program, we're meeting in person for the first time, and it can be quite confronting. Throughout the weekend, we were treated to some amazing food, and I've got to shout them out. Feast Catering in Newcastle are amazing. And I mean, good, healthy food, but certainly not calorie-controlled food. If anyone thought the weekend was a good chance to accelerate their fat loss, they were definitely wrong, because we didn't miss a beat in terms of the food. The weather was absolutely amazing, perfect sun, perfect temperature, lovely for a dip in the pool. So let's talk about a few of the highlights, because if you're inside of Better Body Academy and you weren't at the retreat, you would have seen all the girls from the retreat piling the photos into the group. And it was every bit as good as it looked like properly every bit as good as it looked like. The discussion with Dr. Ginny was a personal highlight for me. She's Australia's leading menopause expert, and it was a real deep dive into menopause, perimenopause, and beyond, with unprecedented access for the ladies to be able to just ask questions. And I think at the end, we almost ran out of questions. Earlier that morning, we did a breathwork session with Braden from Breath Shift. And to be honest, I didn't predict the impact that this would have on the ladies. Lots of tears coming up, and it's a crazy thing to think in reflection, just that the very act of stopping and breathing can bring up such emotion and vulnerability, which suggests to me how often all of us are feeling emotions in our lives and feeling feelings and pushing them down. The analogy we used is like taking a balloon or a basketball and pushing it under the surface of the water, and you're just constantly pushing it down. And who would have thought just the very act of laying in the sun and taking some deep breaths would lead to this outpouring of emotion and, I guess, to a degree, trauma. I certainly didn't predict that. I was not expecting that. And a key point that I want to address for our ladies that are inside Better Body Academy, if you have traumas in your life from the past, and most of us do, that needs to be addressed separately to your fitness journey. And while your body and typically becoming overweight and trauma are explicitly linked, often it's the trauma causing the weight gain, right? It's not just that you wanted to get fat. That was not the thing, right? Stuff was happening in your life that you were processing, and that caused you to put on weight. But it requires a specific individual intervention to be able to approach and process this in the right way. I'm going to say it again. I was quite taken off guard by the outpouring of emotions, because to be honest, that was the first time I've done breath work myself, and I wasn't expecting it. And I say this because while talking amongst each other is a good thing and it's really healthy, the work that needs to be done for you to free yourself of your past traumas is well beyond the capacity of coaches that specialize in fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and overall mindset. This is deeper stuff than that. And whether it's off the back of the retreat or just a general knowledge and knowing that something is holding you back, I believe, and I would encourage you to take the next step in saying therapy is definitely the most important answer here. Talking to a qualified individual that actually has experience in dealing with this stuff. The highlight for me of the retreat was this real sense of community. And it showed up in a few places over the weekend, probably too many to actually name. I don't think Ange, for those of you that did the mountain climbing, I don't think Ange was getting to the top of that mountain without community. I don't think Lisa Evans was getting in that ice bath without community. And I don't think Janine would be so freaking entertaining in running the trivia without the sense of community. And I don't think the women in this community would have been willing to share without that safe space and community having been created. So let's talk about why community is everything. So to those of you that are watching on Instagram that weren't part of the retreat, or those of you that are here in Better Body Academy that weren't part of the retreat, let's talk about why community is everything. Number one, going it alone makes everything harder than it needs to be. Most people start a transformation and they're motivated, but they burn out really quickly, often because they feel lonely and isolated. And it's because when we start failing, and we will fail because life will come up and hit us, we become a failure. And then we start feeling guilty and shameful, and so starts the slide, right? But when you have support around you, it creates sustainability. One thing that Dr. Ginny mentioned that was, regardless of how you eat, how you train, whether or not you're taking HRT, the one thing you must do as you get older is to keep a sense of community. So many men, and I'm speaking to you boys who are listening to this, they take the position that they want to be self-made without actually realizing that not a single person that's successful has ever done it on their own. Did the greatest sporting teams, the greatest armies, the greatest people like Oprah and Mandela ever claim that doing it alone was the thing that made them successful? No, it's not. I think trying to be self-made is the number one reason that people fail. It's also the reason that the suicide rate in young men is so high, because without people, it's very lonely. Going it alone makes everything indefinitely harder than it needs to be, infinitely harder than it needs to be. Number two, when you're in a community, you get accountability without judgment. When you're part of a group, you are more likely to follow through. Fact. You don't want to let others down. And that's a good thing. You see others doing hard things, and that helps you to raise your own standards. Reflecting on the retreat, I bet every woman that attended had initial hesitation, right? Let me know in the comments if that's true for you guys on Facebook. And social anxiety. Let me know if that's true. Were you hesitant to go? Were you worried? Did you nearly pull out last minute? I know that so many of you struggle to post daily into our Facebook group because you think things like, why would anyone care about me? Why would anyone care about what I've got to say? The word like-minded is key. When you are doing things in a group, when you are hunting in a pack, there's this energy about you. Once you realize you can start being who you've always aspired to be without judgment. We've got all sexes, all genders, all body types, all ages in our community. And from what I can see, unless there's something happening under the surface that I don't know about, there's no judgment. There's no criticism and condemnation. And that is rare in today's society. Get into a group. Number three, when you are in a group, You can borrow belief off other people when you have none. Let me ask you, like, have you ever felt really stuck, like you're frozen in time and you just can't move forward? You ever felt that? Community can carry you through the I can't do this moments if you are willing to get out of your own way. I'll say that again. Community can help you carry past the I can't do this moments if you're willing to get out of your own way. You see, when you become a parent and you start to go through 35 and 40 years of age, your self belief kind of gets eroded away, right? From years of feeling and acting like you're a failure. And so what happens is you lose trust in yourself. So when you start a transformation, part of you is thinking, well, is this really going to work? And that's natural because guess what? You've lost trust in yourself. You've failed at so many things until now. And then you've started to assign meaning to that failure. And you're like, I'll give this a go, but it probably won't work. So when you start a transformation, there's part of you that needs to take a leap of faith. There's part of you that needs to fake it till you make it. So if you can find someone inside of the community, inside of the program that reminds you of where you want to go, you borrow belief from them, that becomes powerful. Do you know how many people have said to me, "Oh my God, I just want to be like Nick Friend or Terry. Oh my God, I just want to be like Xanth or Janine. I just want to be like them." That's because they're borrowing belief. And if you can look at another person without feeling intimidated and instead get inspired by them instead, my gosh, it makes it so much easier than doing it on your own. Number 4, when you share your struggles, it creates deeper bonds in your life. Look, everyone is fighting a battle in life. Let's face it, when you start to get to like 30 and 40 and beyond, life gets hard as the responsibilities pile up, right? And in most cases, that's what sinks us. We just can't deal with all the things at once. So one thing slides and then it all becomes this avalanche. Does anyone feel like that? Community reminds you that you're not alone. When you tell your outside friends that you're going to give up beer or start training or go on a diet or you're trying to lose weight, often it feels like they're almost like just waiting for you to fall. Do you ever get that feeling? Oh, yeah, you're probably, yeah, but why you even bother starting? You're probably going to drink again soon. Or what are you doing this fat loss thing? You're not, you know, you're going to give up. When you create bonds through vulnerability and sharing, it helps you stay attached to the process. The one discussion that come out of the retreat was at times like some of the discussion, it was confronting, right? But it's the unity that comes when we realize that our shared struggles are what can move us forward. I've got 2 more. Number 5, celebrating wins together feels better. Man, it feels so much better. Success feels so much sweeter when it's shared because the people have seen the hard work that you've put in. Small wins that you might brush off if you're doing them alone become more meaningful when the people in your network and in your community, when they notice and when you share. It feels good. When Ange got to the top of that mountain and it was a fucking challenge for her, she was sore, her knees were buckled, her heart was beating out of her chest. But when she got to the top of that mountain, the sense of achievement she felt in having done something that was tremendously hard was like it was written all over her face. And she was celebrated for her success by her little community that was with us. And I bet that felt so good to her. You don't need validation. You don't need validation. But when another person or a group of people share in your winning, when you get recognized, it feels amazing, right? When you're doing it alone, it's kind of like, yay, and then what? And then finally, there's something that's really powerful about even though you have different life experiences, me as the next guy or girl, there's something powerful about uniting on a mission, right? You learn faster when you see how others solve problems in their life that you are facing, whether it be trauma or whether it be something like tracking your nutrition or how to overcome gym anxiety. A good community shares tools and mindset and encourages each other. I think every single one of us here who's listening and listens to this podcast inside of Better Body Academy, we have a different why, but we're all united on a mission that's going the same way. And it feels good to be part of something that's bigger than you, right? To feel something that is freeing you of your self-beliefs, your limiting self-beliefs. This is the reason why I constantly try to encourage you guys to just take the scales with a grain of salt, because if you're only looking at the scales and you're weighing the success of your entire life based on your relationship to gravity, man, you are so much more than the scales. You've got to look at these wins that you're creating in your life from a holistic level. Nothing great has been built out of self-condemnation and loathing. I know so many people wake up in the morning and they look in the mirror and they have a negative conversation with themselves. And that's good to get you started. That's good to give you a bit of a kick up the ass at the start, but it doesn't work long term. If you just keep speaking to yourself in a fucking negative way, you're going to stay stuck. If you continue to talk to yourself in this negative way, if you jump out of that, as hard as it can be to do, and you start to share and connect with your community, you get swept up. And the high tide starts to rise the ships. In terms of my own reflections about community, I remember when Ocean was born, my daughter, and she's now 4, and she was in hospital for the first 2 weeks of her life. It was very, very touch and go for her, and she was in the neonatal intensive care. The BBA community rallied around me, and that's the moment that I knew that we had something special going on. I remember back maybe 8 months to a year ago when Stu Owen lost his beautiful wife, and the community rallied around him. There's a number of moments where it became very apparent to me the importance of being part of something. I have hardly any friends in Canada because I'm not from Canada, and yet I feel more connected than ever in my life because I've got a number of communities that I'm part of actively, and it helps me to stay in touch. And even when people are getting older and there's a natural, attrition in friendships, and it's natural that you outgrow your friendships, that happens. But then you got to find a new community. You got to find something that supports what you want in your life. The weekend retreat for me was like a hugely powerful reminder that if you're willing to step in, you're going to grow. And even there, I acknowledge that there would have been a number of ladies that left the retreat with more questions than answered. The step into the uncomfortable is what's needed if you want to grow. If you're going to continue to be bound by your traumas and the limiting beliefs that you tell yourself, you're not going to move anywhere. And the first step is being able to acknowledge them and become aware of them. And at the start, that's extremely confronting. But confronting the difficult things is what helps you to grow. It's now a question of what do you do to be able to move these? And the energy that was present amongst that group of ladies and coaches can be a profound catalyst for change. In terms of takeaways for this podcast, guys, how do you make sense or make use of community inside of our program? You jump on the coaching calls. You jump into the group more. Don't try to do this solo. It is infinitely harder when you try to do this by yourself. Yet when you show up, even if you're struggling, you're not being judged. You're building a network around you that will help you to keep on track. If you feel a little bit isolated right now, I think that in most cases, the missing link is that you're doing what you did before. You're trying to like fight it and punch out of it by yourself, and that rarely works. For the ladies that were at the retreat, I want to express my extreme gratitude for your vulnerability, for your honesty during the time, for your willingness to contribute to what was a really great time. And as I said, I recognize that there were some things raised there which I didn't actually predict. But I think it's great for us to be able to have a platform now, or at least for you to be able to have a platform to go and then look at what the next steps are for you to be able to heal and be able to unshackle yourself and move on. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you for another episode as we near 400 episodes. I appreciate the listen. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you can do that across all of the podcast channels by searching Better Body Academy podcast. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Team, good morning, Leaf. Life, how are you? Craig's in here as well. Max is in here as well, legend. I'll read out a couple of comments coming from the the Facebook group. Vicky says, no calorie counting on that week. Absolutely, Vix. No calorie counting at all. And you know what? How powerful actually does it feel to be able to just like opt out of that, knowing that you have the skills to pull it back in this week? Like, you're not meant to be in a permanent calorie deficit. Do we understand that, guys? Like, that's not the normal way of living, to be in a permanent calorie deficit, nor is it beneficial, right? So having those little weekends where we bump our calories up for a little bit is completely fine. Tammy says, Dr. Ginny was incredible, such a valuable part. Yeah, and Tammy, you asked some fantastic questions, and that's why you made the most of it. Ash, yep, same thing. Erin says, agree. How often do we stop and process? I don't think we do, Ez. I think that's and look, I'm guilty of it, totally. It's like, it's just really difficult, right? It's really, really difficult to actually stop and process this stuff, which is why we're just constantly pushing things down. Alice says, I'm lucky our workplace has a program where we can access help. It's been amazing to pair with this program. Well, that's exactly right, Alice. It's not that we don't understand it. We're just, as lifestyle management coaches, I'm decent at managing myself, but we're not qualified to become therapists. And I think what happens is we create such a vulnerable space that people feel confident and comfortable in being able to share, which is amazing. At the same account, that doesn't mean that we have the capacity to then go and work through those individual psychological components with everyone. Tammy says, Ange was the star. She so was. Yeah. And Kim says, I love training in the gym with the girls. So motivating. Tam says, hopefully we'll get the opportunity to attend one if there is another one. There will always be another one. So I will keep doing these for as long as you want to continue to do these, guys. I think that these are the ultimate in connection. And even if there's a different theme for each one, it doesn't always have to be driven around the deep traumas. I really like the idea of just doing a hard out, health, fitness, strength retreat. Tammy says, I was always a loner, thinking I could motivate myself, but the community has taken me by surprise. It's how powerful how much it's been. Yeah, it shifted my mindset so much, and it's mind-blowing. Immense gratitude for my BBA friends. And we've got immense gratitude for you, Blue Eyes. Are you talking about me? Nikki says, it's so amazing to be in a community where you can be you. Yeah, 100%. Phil says, same old, same old. Yep. But BBA has evolved from warriors who struggle and shared and supported each to a force that is BBA members. Yeah, this is a winner pod. Thanks, guys. This is the essence of what we do. Carmen, we love you as well. Vicky says, never felt healthier in my mind and because of the beautiful, wonderful humans. Kim says, I haven't done a session, but I can speak with multiple conversations with her. Sarah, who runs Glen Eden Retreat, is specialized in healing people with trauma. Worth looking into. Yep, I'm actually waiting on a conversation with her. That's exactly right. I'm waiting on a conversation with her to this point. What else? Kristen says, I don't think I'm going to be able to listen to the intro of your podcast again without laughing, thanks to Janine. And that's why I stumbled a little bit on the opening of the podcast, Kristen, because I had this image of what yes, maybe for episode 400 we can get Janine to do the intro, which would be pretty amazing, right? Hello Grant, hello Baz, I hope you guys are well. All right, I'm going to dip out of here, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. See you guys throughout the course of the day. Ciao.